Hello, everyone. This is your daily dose of English. Just kidding, wrong channel. You got it? I know I haven't posted in a while, but recently I got a request from one of my subscribers. Shout out to Oleg Voronin to talk about linking words. And I think it's a very fun topic to discuss. Linking words is something you use every day. It can be used in formal setting, in writing, in speech. You use it all the time. But for tests like Duolingo, TOEFL, or IELTS, you're definitely going to need them. So let's begin. Personally, we use linking words all the time. And I just used one, personally. In tests like TOEFL or Duolingo, we are constantly required to state our opinions. So we use, in my opinion, pretty much all the time. But what are the alternatives to this phrase? There are informal alternatives, like I guess or I think. And there are more formal alternatives, like as far as I'm concerned, or I hold the view that. Personally, I strongly believe that. I am convinced that. And in tests like Duolingo, especially in speaking, you can easily use informal options. For example, if you ask me, I believe that reading is very good for you, if the topic is about reading. Or you can say, I guess if I had to choose between the city and the countryside, I would pick the countryside because I like peace and quiet. In speaking, it's totally fine to use these. For TOEFL, I would stick to more formal options, and for writing, also formal. What are the other types of linking words? Let's see. To discuss consequences, we can use as a consequence, obviously, but we can also say as a result, or thus, which can be used both in formal and formal setting, both speaking and writing. We can use eventually for both writing and speaking in more formal setting. And for informal speaking, we can use simple, that's why. I like reading, that's why I bought this book. Makes sense. And in regular speaking, instead of saying consequently, we can just say, of course. But it's more informal, obviously. Another purpose of linking words is to add ideas. We can add ideas using like moreover, besides, in addition, right here. Also, but my favorite is not only, but also. I like this because it helps us make a complex sentence, especially for speaking, well, also for writing. You can say, not only I like reading, but also I enjoy writing a lot. Not only he was late to the presentation, but also he forgot his laptop. Another type of linking words are conditional words, as long as or if. But you got to be careful with that because even if you use as long as, it still is a conditional sentence. So just like with if, in first condition, we don't use will after if. So it is incorrect to say, if it will rain, I will stay home. Remember, you got to use present, right? If it rains, I will stay home. The second condition, if it rained, I would stay home. Not if it would rain, I would stay home. Remember that. But conditional words such as if or as long as or unless, they're also linking verbs. They help us link sentences together, right? Another good and useful set of phrases that will definitely come in handy during both Duolingo, TOEFL, and any other English exam, and when just speaking to a friend or writing an essay. It's a set of phrases that help us express well-known facts. Sometimes when we're discussing something, we have 30 seconds. We don't have enough time to point to the source. So we can say, it is a well-known fact that blah, blah. We don't have to say the reference. How do we know it? Especially since we can't think of one. We can just say, it is a well-known fact that working out is good for you. Or it is a well-known fact that reading a lot increases your ability to memorize texts, for instance. It may or may not be true, but if you have 30 seconds to speak, it is fine to use that phrase. We can even go further and say, research has shown that. Definitely don't go overboard with that. If it's really a well-known fact, you can use that, but you can say research has shown that driving your car in the morning is more dangerous than driving your car in the evening, because probably there's no real research based on that. But maybe there is. Look it up. Another phrase that we can use for this one is they say. They say is a very casual phrase. I wouldn't use it for writing as much as for speaking. And they say it's similar to the phrase rumor has it, but rumor has it is more of a metaphor. They say is less of a metaphor, so it's more casual. So you can say, they say it's very good for you to eat grains. They say it's very good for you to eat vegetables. So it says who. Technically, we're not pointing out a specific person. We're not saying that we read it in a specific book. It's not in a specific research. Right, they say going for a run in the morning increases your lifespan. Who knows if that's true? So it's a very good word. Especially if you're not sure where you've heard it, but you've heard it somewhere. And you don't necessarily have to agree with the statement you say using this phrase. For instance, imagine there's a topic, where would you want to live, in the city or in the countryside? So you can say, they say there's way more opportunities in the city, but I disagree, because nowadays with the technology that we have, a lot of people can work remotely. So it's basically the same thing, right? That can be your point, for example. And while discussing this topic, you can use a lot of linking words. I would start with, in my opinion, I would choose the city because blah, blah, blah. They say countryside is good for your mental health. However, I disagree, because there are many events in the city and many people you can connect with. For this reason, I would stick with the city. And when we're discussing any topic, there's always a conclusion that we need to add. And there's also a set of phrases that can help you conclude your speaking. We've discussed previous things that we can add our speaking with, like kill two birds with one stone. In this case, it would be, I would prefer to live in a countryside, because I can always drive to the city if it's 1 hour away when I need to, but still enjoy my peace and quiet. This way I can kill two birds with one stone. Or, you can flip it and say it vice versa. I love the city, and whenever I need my peace and quiet, I can get away from the city on the weekend. But I can still balance my career and all fun activities by living in the city and visiting countryside on the weekend. Kill two birds with one stone. But there are other phrases that are very widely used. For instance, to summarize, to conclude with, after all, as a conclusion, in summary, last but not least, if you're presenting arguments, if you, let's say, describe 2 reasons why you would like to live in the city, and then you're presenting the last reason, last but not least, all of my family lives in the city, therefore I would never move to the countryside. And another phrase is in a nutshell, right? Like a little nut. So you can end by saying, in a nutshell, I've always been fond of big city life. Or in a nutshell, I've always wanted to move to the countryside. In speaking, you can use a very informal phrase, long story short, especially when you're describing your experience. Let's say you're saying that you would never want to move to the countryside because you had some bad experience there. So you can say, long story short, I went to visit my grandparents when I was little, and I hated staying there for 2 weeks without internet. So that's long story short for you. I do think that in tests like Duolingo, speaking is way more informal. So you can use all of these informal phrases for speaking, and I don't think it's going to affect your score in a negative way. I think actually it's a good thing if you use them. For tests like IELTS, I wouldn't recommend using a lot of informal language, because I do think it's more official, and I would stick with more formal phrases. But that's just my opinion. Well, I really hope it was helpful, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.